Well, good evening and welcome to the SHAC. My name's Barbara Gray from Clarity here in the UK. It's 7 p.m. our time, and I'm hoping that a few of my friends are going to join me this evening for a doodling session to have a catch up. We were in Paris last week, as you know, and therefore there was no SHAC. So time to catch up, spill the tea, tell you all about Paris, tell you about Beyonce. Yeah, it'd be nice to have your company. Come on in. Our friend Jane is in the room with yourselves. So if you have any questions, then she'll probably be able to answer it. And if not, if it's for me, then she'll feed it through to me. So thank you so much. Good evening, Jane. And thank you again for all your help. Hi, Ken. Nice to have your company. And I hope that you're feeling well. Sound is all good, Jane says. And breathe. So have you got your cup of tea or your favourite tipple? And are we good to go? Should we wait for a few friends to find us first? I know, it's a summer. It's warm. People are in the gardens. People are on holiday. That's okay. But you know, the SHAC is the SHAC, and whenever I'm here, then we're here on a Monday at 10 o'clock and on a Thursday at 7 o'clock. And then, of course, we've got Groovy Tuesday with lovely Louise on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So always something to keep you company. It's been very busy at work in my absence. Timing is everything. We had the big Clarity members sale, which went very, very well. Thank you so much for your support. And yes, bonjour. We had such a good time in Paris. Well, we'll get started. We'll do some drawing and then I'll tell you all about it. It's really, really excellent. It was tray show. I tell you what, hot doesn't describe it. It was scorchio. Honestly, it must have been, it got hotter and hotter as the week went on. And by Saturday, which was why we went for the Beyonce concert, it was well over 100, honestly. 103 at the stadium, 103 degrees, which was absurd. But then I heard you had a lot of hot weather here in England too. I know. Climate change? What climate change? And then, of course, come the floods, which is difficult to, it's difficult to kind of understand that it could be so sunny and warm and then you get these floods, you know, but it's all part and parcel of the same problem. And we will call it a problem because that's what it is. Yes, so we're going to have a little catch up. I'll tell you all about Paris as we go along. And yeah, we've got plenty of friends already in the room with us. Now, what did you get up to? Have you been away? Have you been on holiday? Are you making the most of the good weather? Grace came home for the open days. And many of you, of course, saw her there. The open days were brilliant. Then we had the workshop, which also went very well. And then we went to London, didn't we? Do you remember? It's been a bit of a whirlwind, really. Then we went up to London to Charing Cross to the Day Fever, the disco, the afternoon disco, which was excellent. And then what else did we do? We've done loads of stuff. We went back up to London to the Royal Albert Hall on the Wednesday to see Anne Mitchell and another lady, can't remember her name. So that was really good as well. Yeah, so it's been one thing after another. And then, of course, we got on the Eurostar and we went to Paris. Eurostar, I've done it now. I've ticked that box. It's overrated and very expensive. But that's only my opinion. You know, for that money, we could have gone to Gatwick no, for a quarter of that money, we could have gone to Gatwick and flown over. And because you know, when you get to the Eurostar, you've got all the same clearance. You have to be there 1.5 hours beforehand. So it's just the same as going to Gatwick, except we had to go to St Pancras, and it was chaos, absolute chaos. 4 times more people than there were chairs, I would say. So, but there we are. We did it, and it was an experience, you know. Sitting going backwards has never been my thing, right? So you pay all that money, and then you're not even facing the right way, right? So, so I don't know what the people behind us thought, but because it was going so fast, I was starting to feel a bit queasy. So I literally, at one point, I was kneeling on the chair. So you can imagine the people behind me, right? I had a window seat, so the bloke could see me in the reflection. And I was like this on the chair, right? I was like this, so that I was facing the right direction, yeah? Because I should have been looking that way. But I couldn't cope with it. It was making me feel ill. So Grace was taking the mickey, you can imagine. And I was sitting on the chair. So as the bloke was going past with the coffee and tea, he thought I'd lost the plot as well. And I thought, well, you know, if you'd given me a chair facing the right way, we wouldn't be having this conversation, would we? So that was how I spent most of my journey outward bound to Paris, was kneeling on the chair. Fortunately, the seats were high enough that I didn't actually make eye contact with the bloke behind me. That would have been funny. Yeah, and then when we got there and we got off the train, the heat, you would have said that the pavements were heated. It would just, up it came, city, you see. So, but we had a really nice apartment. We did an Airbnb, and it was really close to the Champs-Élysées. Yeah, the Champs-Élysées, the Arc de Triomphe. There you go. So it was very close to the Arc de Triomphe, but it wasn't loud at all. But it was on the top floor, so it was on the 7th floor with an elevator, I must add. And there were 2 balconies. So in the morning, the sun was beaming in on that side. And then in the afternoon, the sun was beaming in on that side. Or it was shady there and then it was shady there, whichever way you want to look at it. And when you had both doors open, you got quite a nice through breeze. AC, no AC. But it was really good. And I'm really glad that we did do Airbnb rather than a hotel, because it meant that you could, you know, it was definitely the 4 Bs. Baguettes, butter. So it was baguette, beurre, fromage, lots of fromage. So brie. So it was baguettes, beurre, brie. Big bum. Yeah, we put on about half a stone each. So, but we had a good time. And then Grace, B for boulangerie, she couldn't stay away from the blinking bakery. So I asked her one day, I can't remember which day, I said, because we were very, very close to the Place de Victor Hugo, which was very nice, lots of big restaurants, but there was a supermarket and there was a boulangerie. So I said to her, Grace, do us a favour, pop out, get some milk so I can make you a cafe au lait. And while you're there, pop into the boulangerie and get a baguette for breakfast, for petit déjeuner, right? I'll tell you what, when she came back, she could hardly carry this bag. She said, the patisserie, Mum, she said, it would be my downfall if I lived here. So then she must have picked the whole top shelf. It was a scream. So there you go. Note to self, don't send Grace to the boulangerie for a baguette. She bought everything. She did remember the baguette, there was that, and she even remembered the milk. So yeah, the nice thing about having that Airbnb was that you could self-cater. You know, it was a bit private. To go there for a whole week, it would have cost an arm and a leg in a hotel. And I was still choking on the price of the Eurostar flying backwards. Anyway, come on, let's get started. Let's do some doodling, because I know I can tell you more while we're chatting. So let me just have a quick look at What's going on here? It's great to have your company. It's nice to see you all. There you go. I once took a trip to Paris all the way. I had to sit on my knees. Same. Yeah, same. And it goes so fast as well. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one. It was funny. I recently read a book where the person was in Paris and she used to say about the pastries and boulangerie, however you spell it. And she used to say about the pastries and boulangerie. Yeah. So it was a wonderful week. And apart from all the experiences and the flavors and the tastes and the visual, stimulus, it was really great to see something different. And but the other thing, of course, was to be with Grace for a whole week. It was really great. She went back off to New York on Tuesday. So we got back on Monday. And I tell you what, right, on Monday, so again, Gare du Nord, chaos, right? It was the same show at that end as it was at this end. Way too many people. They're not rigged for the number of seats, if you know what I mean. It's just not. There's no communication, I think, between the waiting area, the departure lounge. You wouldn't call it that, but let's just say the departure lounge and the train. There is no correlation. If these trains are leaving every 30 minutes, then the departure lounge should be 3 times bigger than it is, because it really only caters, because you're going to get there 2 trains early, aren't you? You've been told to. Anyway, whatever. So we got on the train, and then Dave texted me and he said, there's a train being cancelled. And I said, it's not ours. It might be the one after ours. We're out. We're on the road. And this train, at least we were facing the right way. Fortunately, it was hurtling. It was going so fast, much, much, much faster. I thought, he's got a train to catch, this bloke. Whoever the driver was going for it, because it was going much, much faster on the French side than it had done coming, inward bound or outward bound, coming the other way, much slower. So like the coffee was flying everywhere. The stuff wasn't staying on the tables. It was like a wagon rather than a train, smooth, not smooth. Okay. So if I'd been going backwards, it would have been dire, but I wasn't. And then Dave said, oh yeah, the one after you's been cancelled, and the one after that, and the one after that. And I thought, cool, it's a good job we got out in time. And then Jane, she sent me a news report that there'd been a complete disaster. 2 people had been killed. They'd nicked all the copper piping or cabling off the tracks. Really? And there were, the whole thing had ground to a halt. There was a total breakdown of the Eurostar to London connection at both ends, because of course one causes a knock-on effect. And we must have been the last train to get out of Dodge before it all kicked off. I know, awful. So yeah, lots and lots of people. And the trouble is, though, a lot of people are going to Disneyland in Paris, so a lot of kids there as well. Yeah, bit rough. Anyway, all's well that ends well. So we were drawing houses. We were very lucky, Jackie. We were very lucky. We are lucky. We live in abundance. We live in abundance, Everything that I could possibly ever want, I have, and that's the truth of it. Just got to find it sometimes, haven't you? So we drew this picture. Do you remember? And I inked it up. I took the liberty this afternoon of inking it up. So we did it on tracing paper. Do you remember? And then I'll take this one. I took a photocopy of it as well. So for example, I flipped it and then, no, it's that way round. Right, so I drew it that way round and then I flipped it and transferred it to a piece of copy paper, and then I can flip it back. So let's just do a little bit of thinking about this for the moment. Yeah. The idea is that this is going to be really useful. So we've transferred it to a piece of copy paper this time. I have, with a mind to colouring it in with me polychromos, right? Lovely shading. I thought I'd do that, and then I'm going to wrap it around a canvas board, an A6 canvas board. And then I thought what would be really nice is that we take it again and we transfer it perhaps to some watercolor paper, and then we do a really nice sploshy watercolor one, right? So the thing is that if you look at what I've drawn, what you'll notice is this is what I would call a set scene. We're not setting a scene, we've got a set scene. So regardless of the time of year, this isn't going to change. See, I didn't put any leaves on. There's no colour involved. The only thing, the structures are there. The tree trunks are there with the branches. Everything that's staying is there. But of course, as the year moves around, the leaves will come, the rain will fall. Maybe we'll do a day. Maybe we'll do a night sky. We could do Christmas. This set scene gives you, with this, right, it gives you everything you need to change the time of year and the time of day, which is great, right? So I deliberately didn't, I was very tempted to want to put leaves on, but I thought, well, no, because when I go back to this, I might put more leaves on then. Do you see what I mean? I don't want to, I want to just set the scene now, the time and the date. That's what I want to do now. And also perhaps I could change where it is. Is it in Paris? Is it in, what colours am I going to use? Is it there? Is it London? Is it Paris? Is it New York? Is it these brownstones? What are they? I think I'm going to go with a really lovely and kind of gentle muted colours. And I thought it'd be really nice just to colour it in, So I'm going to start with one of the houses and I'll take it from there. And I scanned it into the computer because this is the original one I've got here. This is the original one. You don't realise how ropey your eyes are until you put it into a computer and then you blow it up, like literally, you can go in 200, 300, 400%. And then you realise, that your eyesight isn't what it used to be. Now, what did I use for inking? I used the Micron pen. I used a 005 actually for doing the inking. And I thought this would just be really nice to colour in. And I don't know if you're going to join in or whether you're going to do it later. But I thought today would be really nice to do the polychromos, which would be the B pencils in the pergoliners. And then perhaps we'll take the same design, change the season, maybe go to a watery one, at which point we have to change what we ink it up onto. Do you see? Because then we're going to go to a watercolour paper. But that's okay, we've got those two. Now let's see. So it's all about colours, isn't it? And we need to, I've got a bit of copy paper here because I'm working on copy paper. I've got to kind of test on copy paper because I need to kind of know where I'm going. So I'm going to travel gently on this one and I'm going to go with light yellows and greys I'm using this one I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to do light greys, maybe a bit of brown, you know, maybe a bit of brown. See what that colour goes like. So that and that, they go well together. And then that grey, they kind of work well. Might use a darker grey. So all you need is some colouring pencils and a sharpener. Definitely going to need a sharpener on this little game. I'm going to start with a lighter colour. And then the other thing that I'm going to test, I think it'll be all right. I've probably got to tread gently, but I'm going to use, I'll try some Dorso oils and the blending nibs. Maybe. Right, so I've got my nibs and I've got the Dorso oil. And somewhere in this room that I cleared up today, here they are. I have Gelée Plume. There you go, I've got them as well. Cool. So once we get started, I'll tell you all about Paris. Gay Paris. I like this colour. So what is this one? This one is cream, Strohgelb, the Germans call it, straw yellow. I'm not sure about that. But then this one is ivory, Elfenbein, which is, it definitely changes the colour, but it's almost indiscernible. So I'm gonna do a mix of those two. Right, it's very difficult to see, but that's what I want the houses to be, that the house itself, and then I'll sort out the rest. So I think I'll just do a little bit of yellow on here. No, you can't see much, but I want to work in layers. I'm not pressing hard, right? I'm not pressing hard, and that'll do. And I want it to be quite sketchy, you know. So I'm just putting a really light layer of that yellow down. I think you can see that, can't you? It's all about the shadows on this job. So let's have a look. Yeah, nice. It's very relaxing. I enjoyed doing the penning today. My job, now I've come back from Paris, my job, which is a really great job, okay, is to do some designing. So I couldn't sleep last night at all. I think because we did that live workshop yesterday, didn't we? And I think I had a bit of an adrenaline thing going. Anyway, I was awake at 2 o'clock. And then Paul, he was the same. He never sleeps, does he? And so by 4 o'clock this morning, Paul and I were having a full-blown meeting about the future of Clarity and about designs and where we're going and where we're headed, where we've been, you know, all that good stuff. I like that colour, see? I know it's a little bit light, but you've got to start somewhere. Now, I've got my base colouring on that one. Nice, eh? Now, you know we have that set of 12. We do a set of 12 polychromos. I mean, we don't do the 36 or the 48 or the 60 anymore. I don't think we've got any of them in stock anymore. It's crazy expensive to buy them in, so we don't. We can't afford it anymore, and we can't compete with the big high street art discount shops. But what we do have is a set of 12 greys like these ones that I'm using here, the creams, the beiges, the neutral ones. There's another one that's a kind of a fleshy color. Well, if you're white, it's sort of pinky fleshy color. There's a whole set of 12 of them, and they're really, this is the kind of color. And there's also a sky blue. Unfortunately, I've split them all up. Sky blue, that's it. So they're all really light colors. I went into the whole Faber-Castell Polychromos range, and I specifically selected the grays, the neutrals, the vanillas, you know, because they are so useful. Yeah. So I thought I'd do a blue house as well. Let's do a blue house. I'm going to do all the bases first. I think I want to do a yellow one. Let's just do a little test. I'm going to do a yellow house, see what they look like. So it depends who's going next to what. So we've got that one. Then we've got a blue one. Let's have a look. Blue. I want to go with blue. I think that'll be rather nice. That's that colour there. Right, then, so I've got a blue one, I've got a yellow one. I bet we've got a really boring kind of sage. What colour is this? I keep saying boring, but they're not really. Earth green. Let's just check. So that's quite nice. Earth green. I don't know if I want to put the blue next to the green, but that would be quite a good colour for the house. That one. I think what I need is that what we call boring beige. Warm grey 2, that one's called. I think that would make a really good one. Let's have a look if I can put that one in. Yeah, I knew that would be a good one. So that sits really nicely as a base colour. And then the other one that I'm interested, here it is, I found it. It's the one that's in that set of 12 and it's called beige red. I don't see how they got beige red out of this one, but this is beige red according, see? So those houses there, they don't look. How many houses have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. So my thoughts on this are that they will sit really nicely behind, as the base colours. So it's important to kind of know that, isn't it? Rather than start and then wish you hadn't done that. But then, of course, the next thing is which house works with which. What order do you want to put them on? Because I think it's important to also consider what colour goes next to what colour. So how about, I know this is very mechanical, friends, but how else am I going to know which house sits next to which? See, this tells me loads. See, now I can work out exactly which colour I want to put where if I do this. See, if that's the yellow one, I want the yellow one as a bit of a highlight in the middle. Yeah. Because you got to know that these houses are not going to change colour. You are setting them in stone, literally, right? You can't change the colour of the houses. Well, you can do what you like. It's art, just call it a different street. But if we're going to take the same set scene, then the houses have got to stay the same colour, really, haven't they? And then you change the weather patterns and the seasons around the houses. But, art for art's sake and all that, hey? So let's have a look. Yeah, so at the moment, I'm on design. I'm on design duty. There you go. I knew I'd find it. So put the blue one behind, I think the blue one there or there, behind that tree. And then the beige one there. That's the one. Right. So we're going to go, I'll just make sure I know what I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And straight away, we've taken the thinking out of it and I'm on it. So I've got 3 in the middle. Now I'm going to do that sage colour. I like that, earth green. Okay. How are you doing, friends? You with me on this? Earth green. Okay, that'll work. So we'll put a bit of earth green on that one. Yeah, design. My job is to do the design for the next season, if you like. And so I've been chatting to Jazz and talking to Paul early in the morning about what we're going to do and where we're headed and when do we start Christmas, yada, 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 yada. That was okay, though. It was good. I'm full of energy. Came back well rested. Thing is, I'm only back for a week and then I'm off again on me going off again, aren't I? With Sam Crow. So we're going to the States. Yeah, road trip. I can't wait. So I'm home for a week. I mean, it is a business trip as well, I will say. We have got business to do. So shall I do that? Yeah, it needs to be, otherwise it gets too busy if you start striping. Let's just put that colour down. That'd be good. I think actually I'm going to go into the roof as well with the colour. So if you want it to be softer, then you just use the side of the pencil, really, don't you? Yeah, that'll do. It's just an undercoat. There we go. Yeah, so when we were in Paris, okay, shall I tell you all about it? Yeah. It took a day for me to get to that point where I could switch off, you know, because we've been so frantically busy trying to keep going since the demise of Create and Craft. Right, one. No, actually, I'll go with two. I'll go with a blue one now. Let's do that blue. You know, we've been so frantic trying to keep going. I don't want this to be too dark, though. Pretty light. Okay. That it took a little while, to be honest, to switch off, to just calm down, you know, because I'm always thinking, oh, I've got so much to do, you know. And with Dave being out of commission for a little while, I mean, he's much better now. But with his knee replacement and that, he was out of action. So, you know, you don't realise how much a person does until they don't do it. And then you think, crikey, you know. So we had a couple of months of, see, now that don't make sense, does it? Because the houses aren't. These doors are going to be coming through here like that. Otherwise, don't track, does it? So we've got to leave that out. See, that's a door there, isn't it? And there's another door there. That makes more sense. Yeah, so, you know, I've got into the habit of, oh, I've got so much to do, you know, you know, that kind of panicky. There you go. I'll just put a little bit of blue down there. And then Grace kind of helped me, rather than keep saying, you know, she taught me to sort of stop thinking, oh, I've got so much to do, and kind of start thinking, you know, aren't I lucky that I've got so many things, you know, to do to keep me active, and it's all pleasant stuff. There's nothing terrible. So I've been on this kind of abundance trail, if you like, where I'm trying to just enjoy what I'm doing rather than worrying about what I'm not doing. And I bet you know exactly what I mean, don't you? You know how it goes. You spend so much time freaking out about, oh, that looks a mess, and that the spare bedroom looks like a bomb's hit it. Well, it does. It does. But so what? Nobody sleeps in it anyway. And by the time Sam Crow gets down there, and she's staying overnight, I will have sorted out the laundry. You know, it doesn't have to all be done today, does it? But you know what it's like. You want everything to be just so. And I've spent the last week meditating on letting that go and just enjoying what I'm doing, you know, which is, and it makes for a much happier life, you know. So what if the bedroom's a mess? Making the bedroom tidy is not going to make me happier. It's just going to knacker me out. Because it's a real mess and it's going to take a long time to sort out. It's not just a little titivate. Oh no, it's a major overhaul. I can't see the bed at this point, and there is a bed in there. I know it. It was our anniversary on Tuesday, Dave and I, 7 years. Somebody said to me, "Did you get him something nice?" I said, "Did I get him something nice?" I did. I got some new bedding. I changed the bedding when I got home from France. Really beautiful. William Morris, all nice, you know. He was very grateful. So that was our wedding anniversary present to us. Was really lovely new bedding and fresh when I got home. So that was nice. Yeah. And yeah, it's all good, you know. Just got to keep smiling and enjoy what you're doing when you're doing it. Like we went to the Beyonce concert. I'll get to it, but I'll just fast forward this because it was an observation that I made, right? When we were at the Beyonce concert, everybody there, like you got 96,000 people in this stadium. She did 3 nights, 3 lots of 96,000 people. The heat, I can't even describe it, right? And there were just thousands. The whole of Paris was, all you could see was cowboy hats, Stetsons, sexy gay guys in it was quite something. They really kitted themselves out to come to these concerts, right? So the whole of Paris was full of beautiful black flamboyant gay people. It was great. And not just gays, everybody. They were just all having the best time, but they all dressed up for the occasion. But when I would say, with hindsight, if we had our choice again, and Grace agreed with me, we would probably go to London over Paris to a concert, only because of the energy. You know, there might have been 96,000 people in that stadium, but I would say only 6,000 of us knew the words. You know, and the other thing that really, really surprised me was we were seated. So we were looking at the mosh pit, if you like, where, you know, around the stage. We had really good seats, but we were on the side, like at the O2, you're on the side. And then on the football pitch or the rugby pitch, that's where all the crowd is and where the stage is and what have you. So we were raised and we were watching. And as soon as she came on, all you saw was thousands and thousands of telephones. Right? Everybody had their smartphone out. Everybody was filming it. And I thought, it's crazy. Because Grace and I had already decided when we got there, we'd do a little bit of a recce just for memories, you know. But other than that, phones away. Let's be where we are. Let's just soak it up. And let's face it, you know, every single song, that YouTube is flooded with Beyonce recordings of all the people that did record it, you know, apart from professional recordings as well. There were professional people there doing it too. So what really stunned me was how people were just seeing the whole experience through their phones, through their camera lens, you know. They weren't there, which is quite a shame, really. But I guess that is the age we live in, isn't it? So yeah, so that was interesting. It was an observation that I made, and it kind of, it made me think that I'm glad that I didn't have that need, you know. That was crazy. And then, of course, the other thing about Beyonce You know, I mean, we've followed her for years and years and years since she was in Destiny's Child. Gracie is a really big fan. Word of warning, if you're with Grace, never tell her you don't like Beyonce. Okay, just saying. She doesn't have a lot of time for that. And that, you know, that's the way she rolls. So, and I must admit, the girl went up, the woman went up in my estimations at this concert too. I've always found her to be quite, you know, let's call her Switzerland, very neutral when it comes, you know, she's super professional, fantastic high energy concert, yeah, but you never really, oh look, I've missed a line, you never really know, you can't really read what her political affiliations are. I mean, you've got a pretty good idea, you only need to listen to the words of her songs, but she never voices, or she never lets you know, like Taylor Swift or Bruce Springsteen. They're very verbal in their opinions. She doesn't do that. She still didn't do it, right? But you only had to read the playlist, read the room, watch the setting. It was quite something, you know. The whole way that the concert was rigged. Long story short, the last scene when she came on for her encore, right, was a huge bust of the Statue of Liberty. A great big, brilliant, you know, all verdigris and great big statue. And they brought it came up from the ground and it was massive. And it was gagged. It had it was smothered, and the song was Mercy. And you know, that's for somebody like Beyonce, that really packs a punch, because she doesn't come from that. She doesn't usually speak her truth like that, you know. And you know, she lit a cigar off the torch, and you know, she was really, you just read, it was very, very symbolic. It was quite something. So I was well impressed with the way she delivered her message. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, so she literally, she brought the house down, you know, absolutely amazing. And you know, high energy, the heat. And you know, not at any point did she say, you know, wow, it's hot, because it was, right? At no point did she mention how hot it was, you know? Or the only thing she did say was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only thing she did say was, I hope you guys are keeping cool out there. Yeah. The fact that she was so hot, she spent the whole concert just going like that, just wiping the sweat off her face. She had a pair of sunglasses on at one point, because she was staring into the sun. She was staring right into it. It was 90 degrees on that stage, minimum. And she was doing this, and she still had all the costumes on and the kit. And at one point, she flicked her head in this dance routine, and the glasses flew straight off her face. That's how she was hot. Never, 3 hours, full eye energy, didn't deviate from the plan, you know. She didn't say, oh, it's too hot, I can't do it, like I would have. Absolutely rocking. And then when we left, 96,000 people all left the stadium at the same time. Can you imagine what was going on at the Metro? When we came, we took the Metro. We'd crushed it. We knew exactly. We had an app. We were downloading the tickets. We'd worked out how to get there. So when I've got to tell you. So when we'd come, I said to Grace, I kept saying, Mother, right, we ought to leave at about 5, Grace, give ourselves a good hour to get. She goes, Mum, you're going to be there 2 hours early. I said, yeah, but so are 96,000 other people, right? So use your loaf. So no, Gracie won out, and so we left a bit later, right? Well, got to the metro, absolute chaos. Okay, everybody's come to the metro and they're all trying to get the train. The thing is, right, and this is the funniest part, the train to the Stade de France, which is the stadium, right, is the same line as to the airport. So you had thousands of people in cowboy hats and cowboy boots, made up to the nines with eyelashes that you could have done damage with, right? All going to the stadium. And then mixed in with that, you had these poor blooming tourists who didn't know what hit them with their suitcases. It was comical, absolutely comical. And the number of people on these trains, they were like sardines. They were like in the windows, right? All you could see was their faces squished up. And you know when you're waiting at a train station and there's like a glass wall, so you don't. Thank God there was, because otherwise you'd all just been pushed onto the tracks. There were too many people. Not my idea of fun. Dave wouldn't have enjoyed 1 second of it, right? Mr. I love the countryside. I can cope with the city, but even that was a bit extreme. So yeah, all these people, and we were all waiting for the next train to come up, and then the glass doors open, don't they? And I said to Grace, well, I hope that this next train, there was a big bloke in front of us. I said, we might be able to get on this if there's a bit of space. Well, the train came up and we all started laughing, right? Because it was just, they were like sardines in the train that we were supposed to be getting on. So this big fella, he had a huge gut. He decided he was going to get on. So he went on backwards, right? Gracie said, we'll get the next one. I said, we're definitely going to get the next one. So he got onto I thought when they open the doors, people are going to spill onto the platform, not off the platform. So the doors opened and he wedged himself in, right? And then when the door shut, his big belly got caught in the door. So it opened again. It must have hurt, right? So it opened again. So we waved at him. He wasn't a happy bloke. 3 times. He kept getting, it was comical. So we took a photo. Grace has got a picture of it. And in the end, he was laughing and he was like that against the glass. And he was trying to move his fingers to wave at me. It was funny. This is the pale pink in the set. Okay. James just mentioned it. Yeah, so we finally got on this train. When our turn came, the train came, and it was the same sketch, absolutely rammed. Grace said, well, we're not getting on there. I said, watch this. I said, we got to get on there or we're going to be late. Now we've waited so long. And so Gillingham came out. The door opened and I just started going, pardon, pardon, pardon. Right? I was like an all-in wrestler getting on this train. Gracie said, I can't get on, Mum. I was in. Gracie said, I'm not going to make it. I said, yeah, you are. So I just started talking English then. I was like, excuse me, my daughter needs to get on me. And then I just thrust me 12 stone into this sardine can and made space for Grace and 2 other little girls. It was great. At one point, I've even got a photograph. I managed to get my camera out. And I said to everyone, because it was funny, we were just laughing. It was so hot. It was boiling in this train, no air conditioning. Doesn't that look lovely? And and then right now I'm going for a grey, and I'm going to add a little bit of shadow. I think I'm going for the grey around the edge here. And the so I got my phone out and I said, right. So I said, at the count of 3, everybody shout Beyonce. And everybody went, 1, 2, 3, and everybody shouted, Beyonce. It was so funny. They weren't as humorous on the way back. So we got there, and it was really surreal to see all these people. And there was this guy on the train as well, quite a good-looking fella, and he had a soft spot. He liked Grace. He didn't speak English. He was Egyptian. We managed to get that out of him. He was Egyptian, and he really took a shining to Grace. And so, when we got off the train, he didn't even know who Beyonce was. So he was on a hide into nowhere with Grace, really. But he followed us in the nicest possible way. And he followed us all the way along to the start. And in his broken English Egyptian, he managed to find out from Grace whether she had a boyfriend or not. I think he was looking for a wife. Anyway, it was all very cordial. Shook hands, off he went again. He got back on the train. So he got off the train to follow Grace, to track her. It was quite comical, really. Quite romantic. I said, well, there you go, Grace. He was looking for a wife. So, do you know what? I think I'm going to do the chimneys in the same colour as the houses, just because I think it will look good. So we had such a good time. You can imagine. When we came out, it was a bit more insane, right? Because now at this point, it's 3 hours later. It's a little bit cooler, but not that much cooler. And you've got all 96,000 people headed for the metro. So I said to Grace, I said, I think I've just figured out why the festival tickets that they offered us on the metro run till 6 o'clock in the morning, because it's going to take us till then to get a blinking to get a train. So she said, well, why don't we try and get an Uber? And I thought, I know she's the eternal optimist, but that's Delulu. I thought, how are you going to get an Uber? I said, everyone and their brother's going to want to get an Uber. She goes, well, it's worth a try. 1 minute we waited and the Uber turned up. Couldn't believe it. So we overshot the metro, and there was there was like a river of people going into the metro, and it was all backed up. So we overshot the metro, the entrance. She dialed up the Uber, and sure enough, 1 minute, that was the best 50 euros we spent all week. Out of it. It was absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then the next evening, so that was that. We got to bed at about 3 o'clock in the morning on the Saturday. And the next morning I woke up, I said, I'm going to put grey now, a little bit of shadow around here like this. Same grey on all the houses, look. Just get a little bit of shadow on that ledge. See if that makes it. Does it make a difference? Absolutely fabulous. Right. So next day I said to her, do you want to go to a show tonight? Last night in Paris. Should we go do a show? So we looked up a lot of it, you had to book in advance, so we'd kind of missed it. But we found a really kind of authentic one, not the Moulin Rouge. But it's similar. And it was a cabaret show. And, with a meal, because we hadn't been out for a meal at all. We'd had one salad. Other than that, we'd eaten at home because Grace had bought so much we had to. So, doesn't that look good? Now we're cooking. Yes, so we booked this show with a meal. Okay. I tell you what, we didn't know what hit us. She said, I think there's going to be a little bit of nudity. Let's call it that, right? I was like, I can do nudity. I wasn't banking on that level of nudity. My mouth, it wasn't just my mouth, the whole audience were like that. Let's just call it burlesque. Okay. It was so good. I mean, it was so artistic and so sensual. You got over the fact that everything was exposed, but quickly, because it was so artistic. But I hadn't realized, I thought we were going to go. I thought we'd see a bit of can. I'm all up. That's what we went for. See can in Paris. Well, we got a lot more than we bargained for. And there was a bloke behind me with his mum. I thought, I'm not sure that I would want to be here as a son with my mother. You know, I couldn't imagine being there with Mark. It was all right with Grace. We were just curling up laughing. But I don't think I would have felt very comfortable with what was going on stage, sitting there with my boy. So, and ironically, we got talking because the mother, I could hear the mum, she was an older lady, and she was saying to him, "Oh, your face," she kept Mark, his name was Mark as well. So at one point, he was laughing so loud and making such a racket. I turned around joking and I said, "Mark, calm down." So we got talking to them afterwards, right? Mark said he'd had a hell of a journey with his mum's 81st birthday. The dad didn't want to go to France because he doesn't like the French. So Mark had offered to bring his mum for her birthday treat. So he's got his 81st birthday mum with him. He was such a nice bloke. And he said, so we've done the Eurostar, which was, I can't repeat what he said, it was chaos. And he said, then the 5-minute walk to the club ended up being a 45-minute walk. So that was nearly polished her off. And Grace kept saying to this Mark, you know, tell your face to calm down. Because he was so hyper with all the stimulus, right? And his poor mum, she was a scream. So when we were at Beyonce, I was in the queue to get some water, and there was a guy in front of me. There's a point to this. There was a guy in front of me, and he was evidently gay, and he was wearing all the gear. And I said to him, "It's hot, isn't it?" Just like that. And then he said to me, "London." I said, "Close." And he said, "Harrow." So we got talking. He was an Englishman. We got talking about the temperature. He says to me, "Have you got a fan?" Have I got fans? I've got loads of fans. He said, "No." "Have you got a fan?" And I said, "No, I didn't think." Because in Beyonce world, fans are a big thing, right? A lot of people bring the big fans, and it was good for fresh air, but it was also, they make them clap, you know, like click. It was part of the routine. Anyway, so he said, "You got a fan?" I said, "No, I didn't think to bring one." And so he gave me his, which was so kind, right? And it was a lifesaver. And it was so kind of him. So he must have thought, poor old girl, right? Because he was young. He could have been my son. He goes, you know, so he's given me a fan. So that was a real lifesaver. So then fast forward 24 hours, we're in this burlesque, steamy show, right? And they've only just arrived, Mark and his mum. So I said to the old lady, poor old girl, see, next generation. I said to her, "Have you got a fan?" She said, "No, I didn't think." So I gave her the guy's fan that he'd given to me. So I was just paying it forward, you see. So she was so chuffed. So this fan from Harrow has gone to Gillingham, and now it's gone, I think she was a Brummie. Absolutely lovely. You know, the English, Brits abroad. Brits abroad. It was so lovely, you know. Yeah. So that was interesting, and it was a really pleasurable. I mean, you can always spot the English abroad or the Brits because there's always laughter. There's so much laughter, you know. Oh, press too hard. And there was certainly a lot of laughter in this burlesque. I mean, was it a strip club? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was way too creative. It was just a really edgy, arty, fantastic show. I would recommend it to anybody. So if you're going to Paris and you want to know where to go, and I mean, it's not for the faint-hearted, I will say that. Right, but what a way to spend the last evening. And the food was insanely good. A 3-course meal, and it was quite reasonably priced. So if you do ever want a recommendation of where to go, if you want a bit of an edgy evening, I will let you know. It was brilliant. So there you go. That was kind of, I'll tell you a bit more on Monday when we get together. I'll tell you on Monday, I'll tell you about Versailles and about the tour. If you fancy it, I'll tell you a bit more on Monday. Yeah? So we're going to get together at 10 o'clock on Monday again, right? You down for that? Now, tomorrow, lovely Deborah Wheeler is coming down to Kent. So she's got TV shows, bless her, at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So that'll be good. Right, I'm just adding a little bit of shadow. I think this looks really nice, don't you? There you go. See the shadow? So we're going to do this in layers. We'll do a bit more. Should we carry on with this on? If you're down for it, I'd really like to carry on with this on my Monday, excuse me. So Deborah Wheeler's on tomorrow, 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock with Paul. I'm on design duty. My job is to stay home. Love it. Can't think of a better way to spend a Friday. Hey, stay home and draw pictures that we're going to make into stamps and groovy plates. Well, hello. I could think of a lot worse ways to make a living, couldn't you? Yeah, me too. So that's perfect. So don't forget to check out. See, there's a big thing coming up on the, I'm just saying, on the horizon, right? We are celebrating 10 years of Groovy next week. It starts next week, just so you know. Okay. And we've got the most exciting new thing. Okay. So if you're a groover, if you're a parcher, you're going to be really, really impressed. This is pretty cool. And even since I've been back, Jazz and I took those designs and have turned them into superb stamps. So next weekend, the celebrations are going to kind of start just for 10 days. And we're going to celebrate 10 years of Groovy. 10 years of Groovy with lots of different celebration things and giveaways and new product and new ideas and arty shows, you know, just things to keep us happy, busy and creative. And that includes you too. So I don't think I've forgotten anything. I'm going to just checking my notes. No, I'm going to crack on with design tomorrow. Don't forget Deborah Wheeler, 10 and 2. And then at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, we'll carry on. I'm going to just leave this exactly where it is with my pencils and carry on exactly where I left off. Okay? So thank you so much for joining me, Jane. Thank you for your help. And always a pleasure. Never a chore. I'll see you on Monday. Lots of love. Bye-bye now.